Whether we like it or not, smartphones have become one of the biggest parts of our life. It's arguably the most important thing in your pocket, and with that in mind, I wanted to take a look back at the most important devices that have made the biggest impact on the industry. Hey guys, my name is Ryan Thomas with Failtech, and these are some of the most important phones to me ever made. I want to start off with the timeline, starting off in 2007 and going all the way up to present day, and I invite you to mention yours in the comments. I want to hear how you think the most important phones have impacted the industry and which ones have. Since I'm sure a lot of you were expecting this first phone, I won't really be going over it too much. And for all that it offered, there is only one really big thing that stands out to me: capacitive touch digitizers. You see, before the iPhone, most touchscreen phones were using the resistive touchscreens, which use the pressure of an item, be that your finger or a stylus, to respond. But capacitive systems that we use in smartphones today use the electricity that passes through our skin, such as a finger, to respond on the display. The original iPhone made that the standard, and I'm truly thankful for it. Thumbs up and comment if you remember resistive touchscreens and how much of a pain they were. The Nexus 4 from 2012 was a phone that I really loved. For $300, we got a unique design with that glittery glass back, soft touch rails, and the first true Nexus that I actually thought made sense. A phone that showed that Google could support software for longer than a year. And it also had some pretty decent specs for the money that you were paying for it, with a build quality to match that too. When I think of the first truly good Google branded phone, I think the Nexus 4, and that's why it has to be on the list. The OnePlus One shook up the Android space for good in 2014 and would be the first of many fantastic OnePlus devices. It brought an astonishing value to a market where Samsung and Apple would be pushing their prices higher and higher each year. The best specs in the biz, a killer marketing campaign, and the fact that it was running CyanogenMod would all come together to truly change the industry. I was personally a fan of the funky design, and with OnePlus ploughing into Europe, we can see how that first device has affected the future for the Chinese startup. Thankfully, the Smash Your Smartphone campaign is a thing of the past, and we can go into shops these days and pick up a OnePlus from a reputable carrier. The Galaxy S6 Edge is one of the two phones on this list that I wouldn't recommend due to a much better successor, but nonetheless changed the game. Yes, I know Sony has had glass-backed phones for a while at this point, but this phone stopped everyone in their tracks and showed them what real craftsmanship looked like. The seemingly melting glass that spills over the edge wasn't new, it was first showcased on the Note Edge, but the way that Samsung marketed the S6 was truly great. How many smartphones can we say in 2018 have metal backs? And that's why it's got to be on the list. Up next is similar to the last in that I don't recommend you buy this phone, but the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus were phones that in an era changed how Apple was seen by consumers. They weren't afraid to push to a bigger design like their competitors, and the iPhone 6 is second on the list for the most sold phones ever, just being beaten by the Nokia 3210. An absolutely incredible feat for a smartphone, and yes, the 6 was known for more than a few issues, and I still don't call it a good phone, but that doesn't mean it wasn't important in the industry. The biggest Google release in a while, the Pixel, is a phone that turned heads for not only its boring hardware, but its truly revolutionary software. Google's own software is supported on this device up to this day, but the best thing about the software itself was the camera app. Google's HDR Plus APK is available out in the wild these days, but in 2016, no other phone on the market could produce the quality of images that the Pixel could, even with the same quality or even higher quality hardware. And even in 2018, companies are striving to beat that and become the next best camera software king. We've seen HDR, portrait, and other features come to other smartphones, but the Pixel is still doing it with just one sensor, whilst almost everyone else needs two or more. 2 years later, and the Pixel's still doing it with a single sensor, speaks volumes about Google's powerful AI software. The LG G6 was a phone that I hated on a lot in my 2018 review. And for a good reason. I found that the software was just plain awful. But what LG did with the G6 was 1, bring tall aspect ratio displays to the mainstream, something that we find on almost every phone on the market these days, and 2, redefined what LG hardware should look like, going from a gimmicky and cheaply made mess that was the G5 to the grand glass and metal beast that was the G6, made us consumers feel valued again. It's just a shame that these days LG is far off the top popular smartphones. Now I know what you Android fanboys are thinking of this one. Right? The iPhone X was simply an iPhone brought into the 21st century, and I just have to disagree with that. The iPhone X made a true mark on the industry, starting with the price, $999. A phone that started at $1,000. This was the tipping point, and I feel like we're only going to see more pricey phones. but being the first mainstream flagship to start at this price set a precedent that many of us hate. Next is the first iPhone with minimal bezels, wireless charging, and an OLED display. I know Samsung has had these for years, but an iPhone with these kinds of features shows how far Apple has come from a truly boring design with no character or feature set. No, they weren't the first to the notch, but I can't go like 5 minutes without seeing an iPhone 10 lookalike. And that has to say something if companies are willing to flat out copy the design to drive sales. And to finish off the list is a highly contrasting phone, the Pocophone F1. The Pocophone, similar to what the OnePlus One did in 2014, broke the mold of highly priced, arguably overpriced smartphones. It has the top specs of any smartphone out there today, cuts back on some of the less important features, adds ones that we miss on today's smartphones, and does it all without breaking the bank, being half or even a third of its rivals. The Pocophone was the phone to show consumers that you really don't need to pay $1,000 for top specs and made a lot of manufacturers look silly. Xiaomi did a great thing with this one. And that's been about it from me, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this list, and I really do recommend that you go to the comments and just tell me your most important phones. Maybe you thought I should put the essential phone in this list, maybe the iPhone 4. There are so many different ones I could have added, but this video would have lasted like an hour if I'd have put all the ones I wanted to in there. Thank you all so much for watching. Please do like, dislike, comment, and subscribe if you're new around here to never miss a video like this one. Also, please do check out my social media and Discord links will all be in the video description. I want to thank my patrons for your amazing continued support. My name's been Ryan Thomas for Failtech, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.